All right. Okay, hey everyone. I took my truck up to get it inspected, and while I was waiting in the waiting room, I I read this magazine here, and I went back today, and the guy just gave it to me. He said I could take it, so I took it home. I did not steal the magazine. The guy told me I could take it home. But this is Men's Health. It's it's the can you see that? June 2012 edition. Looks like it's got Kenny Chesney on the cover. Okay. The reason it was interesting to me is on page 20. There we go. It's going to be hard to get this camera to focus. I might just have to read it. But on page 20, it says, "How worried should I be about BPA?" And the writing's almost too small for me to for me to get on camera. I can't get it focused for some reason, but I'll just read it to you guys. It says, "It's smart to be vigilant, but you don't need to be fitted for a hazmat suit. CDC research shows that as an average American, you carry a certain amount of BPA and other potentially toxic chemicals in your blood and fat. This is known as your body burden, and it can be measured through a series of blood, breath, urine, and hair tests. The downside is that these tests are expensive and raise more questions than answers, in large part because researchers don't yet know what levels of exposure cause problems. Body burden testing isn't something I would routinely recommend," says Leonardo Tresandi, MD, an associate professor of environmental medicine and health policy at New York University. "However, if you can recall exposure to specific chemicals and are suffering from vague chronic symptoms that have stumped doctors, it's worth consulting an environmental health expert. Find one at aoec.org directory/directory.htm. In the meantime, here's how to minimize the amount of new chemicals creeping in." And then it talks about, some of the BPAs and symptoms that you could get. But I just found it amazing that they said CDC research shows that as an average American, you carry a certain amount of BPA and potentially toxic chemicals in your blood and fat. And they kind of act like it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. Everybody has it. We don't really know what amount will hurt you. And so I just wanted to highlight this article in this men's magazine. And I'm going to play a clip for you now about toxic BPA cash receipts. So God bless every one of you. May God bring divine justice to the wicked.
Tonight to tell you about a chemical called BPA. Is often found in plastics, and the FDA has questioned its effects on children. Now it's showing up in cash register receipts, and tonight we take a look at what that means and if there's an actual risk to your health. We all have them. Piles of cash register receipts stacking up in our purses or wallets.
There you go. Thank you guys so much.
The Environmental Working Group says 40% of receipts they had tested had substantial amounts of something known as BPA.
Bisphenol A, or BPA, is a chemical used in the making of plastic bottles or plastic food containers. And there are some side effects to them.
Victor Caritas is a nutritionist at Abby's Health and Nutrition in Tampa. And as a dad, has concerns about the chemical and says he avoids products that contain it.
Studies have shown that there can be potential side effects in brain function and also in prostate.
But Dr. Robert Wee, a chemist at Cleveland State University, says while BPA continues to be used as a plastic hardener in bottles and cans, he says the evidence doesn't really show a substantial risk. However, it being used on receipts is a different story, and its use should be, at the very least, restricted.
I feel that they should, whenever possible, they should replace it with a kind of papers that do not contain the BPA.
When the Washington-based Environmental Working Group analyzed receipts, it found BPA on samples from these businesses and more. Receipts from places like Starbucks and Target showed only trace amounts or no BPA. So how do you know if you're handling a receipt with BPA? Well, you really don't, nor does anyone really know yet what the actual risk is.
We just have too many man-made chemicals for which we know little about.
Dr. Wee says if you work at a register and handle receipts regularly, latex gloves are a good idea. And for the rest of us who handle them occasionally, wash your hands with soap and water, not hand sanitizer, which would allow the BPA to absorb into your system more quickly. And to discover more about BPA and the research conducted by the Environmental Working Group, you can head to our website, abcactionnews.com.